you were just talking about the things, things we have to heal from. And one of the things that I've learned and that I know from my own personal experience, but now that I've done this work for 5 years, is that I've not ever met one person who's actively addicted or in recovery who doesn't have some form of trauma in their life. That was the truth for me. Bad trauma. I mentioned my father and how much I love him and how he was my hero. He really was, because there was another side of my life that was happening while I was a kid, things that shouldn't happen to a kid, and that haunted me for a long time. And it drove a lot of my thinking and the way I felt about myself for a long time. And I lived with shame and guilt and fear. Fear was huge,
Welcome to the Art of Rising, where we are exploring leadership, transformation, and visionaries changing the world. I'm here with a great brother. He's on a super powerful mission, and we're just getting to know each other. And he has a wonderful, wonderful message to bring out to the world. So here we are, Brother Joe Ortiz. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. So why don't we just jump right into it? Tell us where you're currently living, where you're from, and perhaps, what you're doing with yourself these days.
Sure, of course. Currently, and for the last 21, 22 years, I've lived in Old Bridge Township, Central New Jersey. But I'm born and raised in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. That's where I was, raised. What am I doing now? I work as an interventionist, as a recovery coach, and as a treatment advocate for those struggling with substance use disorder and mental health conditions. That's what I've been doing for the last 5. I've been in healthcare for 34 years. That's a long story, and I've done a variety of different things in healthcare. But 5 years ago, I decided to come into this space, the mental health space, the substance use disorder space. And what drove that decision was the fact that I myself am a man in long-term recovery. I've been sober now for 12 years by the grace of God and good people in my life, from drugs and alcohol. And so at that time I was 7 years sober, and I just got inspired to do something different, right? And jumped in, and it's been quite a ride the last 5 years in this space of healthcare, as I like to call it. Initially I started off in a marketing type role, outreach, right, where you're out there speaking to people about the services that you offer. What I didn't realize when I started doing this kind of work was the amount of time that I was going to be spending talking to the individual himself or herself that needs the treatment, but also the family. I started to spend time with them, and I saw that, I knew enough to help them understand maybe where they were enabling, right? Maybe where they needed to set up boundaries, what they might want to do different. And that's how I started having success in getting people into treatment. Or a big part of how I was having success was helping the whole family change. And after doing that for about a year, I had friended interventionists across the country. I have a friend who's an interventionist out in California. I have another one in Chicago. I have one in Boston. And I felt inspired to become an interventionist. I thought I can, on it, did some deep soul searching on it, and went with it, and trained in 2 different forms of intervention, educated, trained, and mentored. I was supposed to be mentored for 6 months, but I asked him to keep mentoring me, my friend Trevor, because I feel like I learned the best, and I loved how he worked. And so he actually mentored me for 18 months, and we still do some work together here and there, especially if it's a case that, I feel we'd have a better shot at helping this person if Trevor was on board, So that's my story. That's what I'm doing now. And I love it. I love what I do.
Incredible, incredible. We like to say here at Omziel that for us, we received the phone call. The phone rang and we decided to pick up. We don't have to pick up the phone, right? Because humans have free will, right? Nothing is going to make us pick up the phone, but we decided to pick it up. And then when we heard the message, you still don't have to do what the message says. You don't have to. You can live your whole life. You can hear it and go, I'll get to it someday. I'll do it. Not right now. Let me wait, all these things. But we decided to do what the message says. And the message told us to serve.
Mm,
And that's what we're doing. Me and my wife, we have a private practice here in North Bergen, New Jersey, but we go to different places also. We provide different types of services. One of our staples is the breath work with an ice plunge, and it helps to push people into the present moment. It's super powerful for all sorts of things like a heartbreak, or you just want to write a book, and addictions too. Yeah, it's a strong one,
right, right.
so we love it and we love what we're doing also. But one of my strong questions is, when someone does hit that rock bottom,
Mm,
because many of us feel that we have, but what does that really mean? And do people actually need to hit it, before they really make that change?
mm.
Mhm.
That's a great question. It's a very, very great, it's a powerful question. And in the sense that what I've learned as an interventionist is that, yes, we all need to hit some type of bottom, right? Something needs to kind of hit us in a way that it snaps us out of what's happening, what we're doing to ourselves, and maybe helps us to take a step back and realize, like, I'm destroying myself. I'm making my loved ones, the people that I love the most in this world, worry and suffer. So yes, something has to happen is the point, right?
Mhm.
Um, so, but what I've learned is that you don't want to wait for the rock bottom, right? There are different levels on the way down, you know, and rock bottom can be really bad. Rock bottom could be death, and I'm just speaking plainly here. We can't sugarcoat this. This is a life and death matter. So the idea behind an intervention and the type of work that I do is, let's raise that bottom. Let's
Mm.
not wait till we get down here, because we don't know what's going to happen down here. So let's try and raise that bottom.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And in that upper bottom, if you will, you can still have that impactful experience, where the person can, you can snap them out of it, as I said before, and help them realize, like, what, I'm not just hurting myself, I'm hurting my loved ones too, and they're right. You're not
Mhm.
happy, you know, and,
Mhm.
so to answer your question, that's what I feel rock bottom is, and don't wait. Don't wait for
Right.
the bottom. Raise the bottom, right?
Mhm.
And do we all need to hit it? Yeah, we all need to hit some kind of bottom. Something has to happen, right? Very few are the folks who wake up one morning and have this epiphany and say, you know what, I'm going to go to AA for the rest of my life, and I don't want to. It does happen once in a while, right?
Yeah, but usually.
No, typically
Mm.
it takes external forces,
Mm.
right? Things that are happening around me,
Mm.
changes that are occurring around me that influence me to want to change. And that starts with the family, in my opinion. When the
Mm.
family starts to change what they're doing
Mm.
and how they're doing it,
Mm.
that's when they can better influence their loved one and kind of give them a little bit of a kick in the butt, if you will,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
to go get treatment.
Right, right. Which is super powerful too, man. Sometimes people don't have lots of loved ones, don't have people who even care for them or family. There's can be some people around, but it ultimately comes from the person, the human. Like, we could stay in the mud, or we could just get out of it too. But I often like to tell people, Joe, that these type of things are sort of like being in mud, or shit, up to your eyeballs, and the shower is only like 5 feet away. But we don't know what it is to get clean. We know this. We don't like it, but we'll try to muddle through it, but once, for even for myself, once I got out and took a shower, I was like, oh no, I want more of this. I'm clean, I could do this. Oh my god, I just wanted to be with people and to learn more about these things. Do you feel that that's the case when you meet people?
Um, yeah, they really struggle to get to that shower, you know, and my job is to help them realize, hey, the shower is right there, and it's beautiful, it's pristine, and you can use it so that you can bring out your beauty. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So my job is to help them to get to the shower, hand them the towel, if you will, right afterwards.
mm, right.
Uh,
Mm,
yeah, I like the analogy, and I'll tell you what, once you've experienced the hell of addiction,
mm, mm,
you do get clean
mm,
and you develop an attitude of gratitude.
mhm,
You
mm.
want to be clean. You
Right.
just want to be clean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
who you are.
Yep.
I love my life, and
Right.
it's such a different life from the life that I was living 12 years ago.
Mm. Amazing, amazing. It's like the genie, right? Once it gets out of the bottle, it's like, you can't get the genie back in. Like you could try, and then you'll be miserable. If you got it in, you'd be like, just break
Yeah.
the bottle, But perhaps you can tell us. Well, let me start with this. Like, I've been inside of these meetings, therapy, and all sorts of things. I've been in the rooms and did the steps, many things, and all of that. And one of the things that has come up is that within the group, people would often ask the person that's leading it, have you been through some of these things? And then sometimes we found that no, they had never taken a drink or used any substance ever before. And then we were looking around at each other like, how are you going to really help us if you've never been through something like that? So my question is, do you feel that that is the case that can be, yeah, a blockage, and and also, after that, could you tell us maybe if you're opened about your journey and some of the things that has happened, those many years ago?
Sure, sure. Um, so I just want to be clear. So you experienced that in actual rooms of NA or AA, where someone leading the
Yeah,
meeting is not a drug
exactly.
addict or an alcoholic?
Exactly. The one who was leading it. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never experienced that. I've
Oh,
experienced that in
wow.
a treatment center, maybe, right? Because there are some good
Mm,
therapists out there who didn't necessarily go through addiction, but they're very good at what they do. But
mm,
you still get that feeling like, do you really understand, right?
mm,
Um, so I never experienced that, but what I will tell you is that I would have felt the same way, and it wouldn't be a judgment on that person. It would just be
mm,
like, I just know that when I speak about my former addiction and my recovery,
mm,
there's nothing like speaking to someone who's exactly like me, right? What I mean is who is also in recovery from an addiction, be it alcohol, drugs, or whatever.
mm,
And the reason for that is that there's a connection there that's like no other, right?
mm, mm,
That person has literally walked in my shoes and I've walked in his. We understand obsession. We understand self-destruction. We understand the feelings associated with it, the thinking that goes on, right? The crazy racing thinking that I used to have, that I couldn't shut down without the aid of a drug or alcohol, right?
mm,
So we've experienced the same thing, really. Different stories, different levels, but we understand, So that's never happened to me at an AA meeting. I have found always the opposite of that,
mm, mm,
which is great. I love AA. I still go to AA, and
mm,
I don't go as much as I used to, but I go to a good 2 solid meetings a week, and I
mm,
have sponsees, and I practice the program. So yeah, and as far as my story, I was, as I mentioned earlier, born and raised in Perth Amboy. I firstborn son of Puerto Rican immigrants, and I call them immigrants, even though we all know PR is America, right? We're part of the country, right? But I say that because they came over in the 60s, so it was very much the West Side Story thing going on. You know what I mean?
mm,
So, and they had to come and adapt and make it happen, and they did, man. They did.
mm,
My dad was my hero. He was what we call in recovery a heavy hitter. Very, he played the Spanish guitar. Primer guitarrista we call him, right? And he was a happy, go lucky, man's man kind of guy, and I loved him. And he was my hero. He also drank, and he smoked, right? Very much a part of the culture. At least it used to be. Maybe not so much now, but it was. And so I just saw that as a rite of passage. I figured, in the future I will also drink as a young Latino man. And I did, and I didn't start too early. I started, like in my late teens, and then in my 20s I got involved with school and working on my career. But then in around like my mid 20s, that's when alcohol started to become prevalent. And then I was introduced to drugs as well, by a cousin, and I fell in love with that too. That's the truth. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I enjoyed it. But it was manageable, meaning that I wasn't drinking every day. I wasn't doing these things every day all the time. I was focused again on my career. I was a young single father at the time. I was very hands-on with my kids. But slowly but surely, it started to increase the amount of my drinking. Went from like Saturday nights to like Thursday and Saturday nights, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, and then Sunday too. And then before I knew it, I was drinking every day, and I can honestly tell you, I did not see that coming. You know what I mean? Like, I had, I knew the warnings and and all that, but I didn't think I was, when I was a kid, and people would ask me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Firefighter, the president. I never said I want to be a drug addict and an alcoholic. I never said that.
Nobody
wanted that, So, anyway, so it just became more prevalent and a big part of my life, and it kind of became a part of my, it became a part of my identity, and it started to cause me problems. And what happened was that I knew this girl from the neighborhood who is now my ex-wife. She was a little younger than me, and we had moved in next to each other, like this. How, I don't know if you know, but the houses are kind of stacked up against each other. This house with her parents, and I was living in one of my father's houses, and we started dating, fell in love, and got married in 2003. And by March of 2004, my drinking had really escalated, and she started going to Al-Anon. And by the summer of 2004, she had acquired her Al-Anon black belt, as I like to say, and she kicked my ass into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and she got me a really good therapist who happens to still be my therapist. When I need a therapist, I still go to her. That's 22 years ago. And she's amazing. And that started a 9-year odyssey of me in and out of AA, in and out of AA. I remember early on, at first I tried getting sober because she was on my back. I had a real back problem. She was on my back, and
I love that.
And I remember that December 2004, she had gone to school because she was still finishing up some college stuff. And I had like, I don't know, a couple months sober, and I relapsed, and I did a number on myself. And I remember standing here in this living room crying, realizing like, wow, I really am an alcoholic, And in that moment, I felt like something other than human. I felt terrible. I felt like it was a terrible feeling. And it was such a realization. For 9 years, I tried to get sober, and I just kept relapsing. And there are reasons. I know today there are reasons for that. I've done a lot of work on myself, and I see back, when I look back on the things that I didn't address, the things that I didn't do, the reservations that I still had, right? If you have a reservation about your addiction, your recovery is going to be precarious, you know. Um, so anyway, we had a couple of kids. My beautiful son and daughter, who are now 18 and soon to be 16. My daughter, 16 going on 30. Um, and finally in December of 2012, my ex-wife couldn't take it anymore, and she had me removed from my house via restraining order. Now, I never ever, I was not that kind of alcoholic. I was an isolator. I would just disappear, But she didn't know how to get me out of the house, and she wanted to protect our kids. I understand that today. So she lied on a restraining order and she had me removed from my house, At the time, that was very painful, But today I understand it, So I then entered the darkest time of my life. I was severely depressed. This was the winter of 2013. And I was suicidal. I was at my computer one night in my apartment. I ended up in a 1-bedroom apartment, beat up apartment with a mattress on the floor, a little TV on the floor, and 3 contractor bags of my worldly possessions. That's how I ended up. From living this life in suburbia with a beautiful wife and kids, that's how I ended up. And so I was severely depressed, and one night I was sitting at my computer and I actually started researching how to buy a gun legally. And I know that sounds terrible because it's very dark, but then I looked up and there was a picture of my little boy and my little girl, and I broke down and I said to myself, how can I do that to them? How can I do that to them when they've already been through so much in their little lives, And I remember praying that night, crying, praying, and asking God to please help me. Please, I don't want to feel this pain anymore, and I don't want to cause my loved ones pain anymore. And interestingly enough, the very next day, I got a call from somebody who I had gotten sober with in the past, but he relapsed too, right? And we have the same sponsor. We had the same sponsor then, and we still have the same sponsor, right? And he called me up out of nowhere, or, I always say, is it odd or is it God? God, in my opinion. So he asked me how I was doing, and I told him I was doing terrible. And he said, that's all right, man. Let's just start going to meetings again. He had been sober 2 weeks at that point. And we started going to meetings, and I didn't sober up right away. I put together 10 days, and then I'd relapse. 7 days. June 5th, 2013 is my sobriety date. That is when I finally was released. The chains and the evil of alcohol and drugs, addiction, I was released, and I've been sober ever since, man. And it's been a great journey. Life still happens.
Right.
Still gets lifey. As I say, life coming at me in 3D right now, painful stuff. I lost my dad 7 years ago, 7 years ago. He was my best friend, the divorce became final. My first year of sobriety was really hard. It was really hard. The divorce went through supervised visitations with my children, breathalyzer in the car. I was forced to go to treatment, all this stuff. It was hard.
Wow. It just seems like, wow. That's incredible. I'm really fighting back the tears, brother. I have to tell you, because I know some of those things, even for myself. I did end up homeless. I didn't know where else to go. I had a duffel bag of my belongings with me, and I went to the emergency room. Why? Because I knew that that's where people went anyway and sat and waited anyway. So I just make believe like I was waiting for the doctor, and I just sat there and tried to get some sleep. And I tried to do that for a couple of days, but that didn't last. And then I would just, be wherever I can. Then I started couch surfing, and then trying to find, a woman who would take me in, and I can convince her, if she had her own place, oh, it was like jackpot, If she had a car, it was like, wow, it was even a bonus, but that didn't last for long either, because after a while, people they figure you out after a while. You can get people in the beginning, but in my
Mhm.
opinion, people figure you out after a while, and so it was tough. The substance abuse, the chemical dependency. One of the reasons why I had stopped was because my heart was doing the sideways mambo,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
ended up in the emergency room twice. Because we're not sure the first, I had to make sure. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how we do. And but then the alcohol kind of filled that spot up. I did relapse, after that too, but the alcohol, oh no, it filled all the areas that were empty. and
Mhm.
and that one was the heavyweight prize fight. That was the drag down, knockdown MMA, one
Mhm.
to get rid of that. And it's been about, man, I don't even count, but I don't even know the day, because I it was something else that had helped me altogether. So once I was on that road, I was like, oh, I'm with it now. And then people couldn't convince me, like, hey, come on, let's go out to have a drink. I'm like, why? Like, give me the reasons. Let me hear them.
Mhm.
To be happy, I'm happy already.
Yeah.
Oh, to be loose, I'm loose. To
Yeah.
dance, I'm dance. I dance more now. That's why I was like, nah, bro, I'm just not. And then all the friends change. They stay away after a while too. You don't just tell them stop calling me. It's just we don't
Yeah.
have nothing else in common. We were drinking buddies. So looking for it and all that. But it's quite a road. And perhaps you could tell me, um, what do you think are some of the misconceptions that people would have about recovery, and the whole process?
Mhm. Mhm. Um, misconceptions.
Mhm.
Well, I could tell you one that I had for a
Mhm.
while.
Okay.
Uh, it comes to mind, and that was that because I got sober through AA, right,
Mhm.
and the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and
Mhm.
the whole program, and
Mhm.
I love it. I love that program. I say that it saved my life and it gave me a new way to live life, right?
Mhm.
We call it a design thinking that truly works, right? Um, and when I would hear of all these other pathways to recovery, I become like judgmental. I become judgmental. Like I don't. It sounds kind of hokey to me. Like I know the real way to recovery. And the truth is that in the last 5 years, that's how I felt like 5 years ago. I also had my reservations on what is called medically assisted treatment, right? Which is, drugs that help you stay away from opiates, heroin, and even alcohol, um, and are prescribed. But I had to, as I started this journey in this space of healthcare and in what I do today, I started to learn and open up my mind. And you know what? There are different pathways. My way does not have to be your way, and your way does not have to be mine.
Right.
Mine
Right.
is rooted in the 12 steps and a belief in God and spirituality. For me, sobriety is a state of spirituality.
Mm. Mm.
But there's this thing called refuge recovery, which is the Buddhist version and I know a gentleman who's doing it and he's doing great. You know, there are people who just can't buy into the whole 12 steps and meeting process,
Mm.
but they take their medication as prescribed and they find other, ways of being healthy and happy, be it working out, be it going to
Mm.
church, right? Getting really involved in that,
Mm.
or just, adapting this life of positivity you
Mm.
know um,
Mm.
so there are different pathways, so I would say that that's a misconception that's I think is still out there. Again, I still in my heart love the way I got sober and how I stay sober and how I've grown,
Right.
but
Right.
I respect other people's paths and journeys.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I think that's necessary, because there's many different paths, there are. They're all
Yeah.
leading to the same place.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not like that path is going way over there. Like, no, So I'd hate to see a world without religions, although I don't really care for lots of those things, but a world without it, like, it's all leading. to God, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I've done the meetings too, and you know, I'm not quick to say that it didn't help me, because it did help me, right? And I'm not also quick to say, it doesn't work, right? Why? Because maybe I didn't push hard enough. Maybe I didn't stick with it hard enough. Maybe I didn't, maybe I wasn't ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see, I use that as an excuse, and my excuse was just that, like, they don't know what I'm, going through, and I can't make it, I'm late, I have to work, or
Hmm.
I got to get up early tomorrow. See, so the mind starts doing those things. So, you know
Yeah.
how about for you, some of those excuses, maybe for yourself, or how about, when you do reach out to somebody and go, hey, Jim, I haven't seen you in a while, bro, is everything okay? What are
Hmm.
some of those excuses, and what do you tell them?
I tell them exactly that.
Mm,
That's an excuse. That's not a real reason. You know,
mm,
I I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3",
mm,
240 pounds, but I'm a big mush too. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
I just am. I love people. I love life.
yeah,
Um, I have a lot of compassion and empathy. I feel deeply, you know.
mm,
Um, but I also have a very low tolerance for BS.
mm,
Very low tolerance at this point in my life. You know, I'll give
mm,
you a little leeway, but when you start coming at me with excuses, you
mm,
know, and these reasons as to, why you can't get to a meeting, or, why you're not doing the things that you should be doing in order to not just stay sober, but grow, right? And become the best version of yourself that you can on a
mhm,
daily basis.
mhm,
Then I
mhm,
call you out on it. I
mhm,
call you out on it. And you're probably not going to like me in that moment, you know,
mhm,
but that's okay. I'm not
mhm,
here, I'm not here to make you love me. I'm here to help you survive, to live. I'm here to
mhm.
overcome this thing. So
Right, right,
sometimes you're
right,
going to hear something you might not want to hear. You,
right, right.
you know?
That's good. That's good. Yeah, cut to the chase. Let's just get to it, and let's not soften it up. I'm a big believer in that. And I was looking at your
We have to live
Instagram.
in the truth, brother. We have to
Mhm,
live in the truth,
that's right.
right? I'm sorry, you were looking at what?
Yeah, no, the truth. Before I do move on, yeah, the truth will set you free. And
Amen.
it's
So
where
true.
the right, it's where the light is where the light exists. It does
Mhm.
not exist over here. It's here.
Yeah,
Yeah, in the truth. That's it. It's
in
bright.
the
It's the
truth.
light goes on.
It's the only way. If we tiptoe around the issue, right? If we make excuses, if we lie or live in lies, then we're not. What are we doing, right?
Yeah,
We're living
yeah.
in the darkness, as you just said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
that's
I
true.
agree with you 100%. To live in the light, you have to live in truth.
Yes, yes, yes. I know I was gonna say something about the something that you were mentioning about the excuses and stuff like that, right? I know I've had many excuses. I still have some. They're really good too, But at the end of the day, I know now it's just an excuse. And that's what I also, tell other brothers too. We do men's retreats, by the way. We do quite a number of them locally, but we had our first international retreat last year, and it's like super exciting, man, to take guys away and separate them, unplug them from the matrix, and have them really deal with some deep issues, man. Lots of tears,
Mhm.
including mine, and also lots of laughter too, so we have a great time. We go hiking and to a waterfalls. I always try to go to some natural river, like, to
That
let
sounds
go of all
beautiful.
that negative energies, yeah. And we do workshop, but we hang out too, and we, read a book, sleep, or nap, or whatever. It's not a military camp,
Mhm.
and we're not wrestling each other to the ground either. No, it's not one of those, it's
Mhm.
always about the deepness of it, of what it is. It's you. And we always tell people, Joe, that we consider ourselves like ushers at the movie theater. We're just helping you to get to your seat without knocking somebody's popcorn over. You see?
I like
Well,
that.
yeah. Why? Because the movie's yours. It's your movie.
Yeah,
We're just trying to support you, to
so
help you,
true.
like, and to wake up, like, you don't have to live with guilt and shame. You don't have to. And that was a big one for me, man.
Me
Ah,
too.
I couldn't let go of that, man. Like, why? But look at what I've done. Look at the people I've hurt and all that, but something higher was telling me, don't worry about that. You know, let it go. Let it
Yeah.
go. You can't do nothing about those things. They're
Yeah.
done. You know.
Heal, heal, right?
Yep.
Heal
Mhm.
thyself, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. It's just bear the cross. You must be born again. It's the greatest story ever told. That's right. You have to have the renewing of your mind. It's there. It's all there. It's a guidebook. It's a roadmap. It's telling you right there.
I you were just talking about the things, things we have to heal from, and one of the things that you know, I've learned and that I know from my own personal experience, but now that I've done this work for 5 years, is that I've not ever met one person who's actively addicted or in recovery who doesn't have some form of trauma in their life. You know, that was the truth for me. Bad trauma. You know, I mentioned my father and how much I love him and how he was my hero. He really was, you know, because there was another side of my life that was happening while I was a kid, things that shouldn't happen to a kid, you know, and that haunted me for a long time. And it drove a lot of my thinking and the way I felt about myself for a long time. And I lived with shame and guilt and fear. Fear was huge, you know.
Mm,
And when I found alcohol, it it quieted down all those voices,
mm,
right? It brought things into focus. The fear would go away for a little while, like that empty, like that gaping hole in my chest, as I like to call it,
mm,
would go away. I'd fill it with the alcohol, and I'd feel comfortable in my own skin.
mm,
Life was okay, you know. Those were the effects of alcohol, right?
mhm.
So when you think about it, right, the alcohol and the drugs actually worked for a time.
Right.
They actually worked for a time
Mhm.
to help me with those things, to help me get through life, right? Until it didn't, right? Until it turned around and it completely nearly killed me. I didn't even mention that I nearly died 3 months sober as a direct result of what I did to myself for 20 years.
Mm, mm,
That's another story. But
mm, mm,
it wasn't until
mm,
I put the substances down and went to work on myself with the help of therapists,
mm,
specialists, psychiatrists, you know, I did the work. I did the work in the 12 steps. I did the work in my therapist's office, and I faced these things, you know,
mm, mm,
happened to me when I was a little boy,
mm,
you know, and I was able to heal from them. And I can honestly tell you that I barely think of those things, if ever,
mm.
anymore, where I used to think about it every day,
Right.
right? And
That's
now
the crazy. Yeah. Mhm.
it's really behind me, you know, and I've forgiven the people who hurt me. And I had to do that. I had to do that for myself. I could not continue to hold on to that pain and that anger and that resentment. You know, how could I do
Mm,
that and live in the light? You can't.
mhm, mhm.
And
Right.
I forgave them. I forgave myself. You know,
Mhm,
and um, I've learned to love myself. You know, one of my therapists, amazing, amazing therapist. I remember I had my Goodwill Hunting moment with her. You seen that movie, Goodwill Hunting? That moment when
Many times.
Robin
Mhm,
Williams says it's not your fault.
mhm,
It's not your fault. And he finally breaks down Matt Damon and
mhm,
they're hugging and he's letting it all out. Right?
mhm,
Beautiful, beautiful moment in that movie. And I had a moment like that, you know, this therapist, her name was Alice. She was like 5 foot nothing, you know, and she was tough as nails though, but awesome, like
mhm,
very
mhm,
lovely woman.
mhm,
And she said, she goes, those people who did that to you should be in jail for what they did. You
mhm,
know,
mhm,
um, that little boy that they hurt
mhm,
still lives inside of you.
mhm,
He is the part of you that allows you to feel awe when you look at the stars at night.
mhm,
He laugh,
Mm.
be happy. That little boy still lives in you. She says to me, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you gave that little boy a hug?
Mm. Mm.
Came over.
Mm.
Tears started coming out. I just started
Beautiful.
crying. And she was like, from now on, she goes, from this day forward, every morning when you wake up, you go brush your teeth,
Mm.
I want you to look into the mirror and look into your eyes, and you see that little boy,
Mm.
and you tell him, I love you,
Mm.
and I'm going to take care of you today.
Mm.
So,
Incredible.
yeah,
Incredible. That's
still do it.
huge.
I'm a 57-year-old man. I still do it because
Mm.
you know what?
Mm.
It's
Mm.
true.
Right. Right.
It's
It's
true.
the truth. It's the truth. And I could tell you, Joe, for myself, not so long ago, actually, I was in deep meditation and I came to a point where I had seen myself as a boy. I found him. He was in a fetal position in a corner. It was crazy, very vivid. And I was able to pick him up, and look in his eyes and tell him, I'm
Mm.
here. I'm here.
Wow.
Let's go. And we took each other's hand and just went, bro. It was a deep meditation. I was just
That's
tearing,
beautiful.
crying,
That's
bro.
beautiful.
Oh my God. It
That's
was
really
something that everyone has inside of them. But we're too afraid. It hurts too much. So once people start feeling like a little bit of heat, like ooh, it's hot, it's too hot, they back up and they go away instead of pushing through that pain, right? I've heard some other masters speak about the only way to get through pain is by going through it, not going around it or
good.
under it. No, you have to go
Yeah.
into that darkness, feel that, speak it out, and visualize it and see it, and come with that open heart, like, okay, I'm here, I'm here, I'm
And
here.
the beauty of it, Omar, I discovered in recovery that I didn't have to do it alone.
Mm,
And for a long time, I was very lonely, even though I could be in a room filled with people, even
mhm,
people that I love. And I
mhm,
still had that feeling.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
Um, and what I discovered in recovery is that yes, I had to go through that pain and through the trauma and face it, right, and get through it, but I didn't have to do it alone.
mm,
I didn't have to do it alone. I had God,
mhm,
I
mhm,
had my therapist, I had my psychiatrist, I had my family who hung in there with me,
mm.
my friends in AA.
Right.
We help
Family.
bear each
Mhm,
other's
mhm,
weight.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Like we don't do anything alone anymore. It's beautiful. It's
Right.
you know.
Right. That is quite beautiful. Perhaps you could tell me, what is the difference between someone who makes the recovery stick and someone who relapses?
Well, I can answer that by once again telling you a little bit about my own personal experience. I mentioned earlier in our conversation that if you have a reservation of any kind
Mm,
about whether you're an addict or an alcoholic, or whether this thing's got you,
mm, mm,
then your recovery is probably going to be precarious. It's probably going to be the chronic relapsing type of recovery, if you want to call that recovery.
mm,
That's what I did for 9 years. When I look back, I realize a couple of things. Ego always got in the way,
mm,
always got in the way. And
mm,
then the reservation that I had always got in the way as well and would cause me to relapse. What I mean by that is I would get sober for a time,
mhm,
after like a bad run and a bad situation at home, and I'd be very motivated to get sober.
mm,
I didn't dislike the meetings. I actually liked a lot of it about it.
mm,
And,
mm,
you know, so I'd make recovery number one, right? And
mm,
everything would get better again. Slowly
mm,
but surely, I would let everything that just got better again start to take the place of recovery and become
mm,
more important than my recovery. I'd
mm,
back away from meetings. I'd back away from the
mm,
phone calls to my friends. I'd back away from prayer and meditation. And I'd let the world take over, and then I'd be vulnerable and I'd
Mm,
be defenseless, and I'd pick up again.
mm, mm, mm,
So if you really, in my opinion, my experience, what I've seen with others is that if you keep recovery first in your life,
mm,
you get to keep everything else.
mm.
You get to
That's
keep everything
beautiful.
else,
I
right?
love that. I love that.
And if you don't, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose everything if you don't
Right,
keep recovery first, you know? So
right.
that's one thing. And then the reservation, right? Um, I had to get to the point where I had to concede to my innermost self
Mm,
that I am an alcoholic and an addict, and that
mhm,
my life has become unmanageable, and that I cannot live this way anymore. I had to really, really, truly believe that. But I also then had to concede that there's another way.
mm,
There's another way that I
mhm,
can live. I've seen it. What's my decision going to be?
mm,
I had to concede to my innermost self. This is who I am and what's wrong with me, and this is what I can do about it.
mm.
And I decided to do it. You know,
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. You do have to want it bad enough because like I said before, I tried many things because at some point it was such a low moment for me. I didn't realize it at the time, but I looked in the mirror, Joe, and I said, I don't even know who you are. Who are you?
mm,
And looking back, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody, bro. To look at yourself and you don't even know who that person is in the mirror. I was lost, man. It was tough. It was a uphill battle, but I was willing to do anything. So there was some point that I began to want it bad enough. I was still going back, but I knew like I got to get off this ride, and I didn't know who was driving the ride. I didn't know when I paid my ticket to get on the ride. I didn't know where the brakes were, like, and I couldn't get off the ride. I couldn't turn the wheel, or. But there were some other things that helped me. And you did speak about the AA, and this is a strong one, and I know it has helped many, many people. And Bill Wilson, he created this wonderful program, and people helped to propel that into society. But I also know that many people do not know also about his psychedelic baptism in California, where the psychoactive substance LSD helped him with his recovery and those it was helping. And I
I
also
didn't know
noticed that but in the AA they don't speak about these things because they want to keep it,
that. Right.
and that's in my opinion. I'm not speaking. I'm just saying that it just seems that they like to keep it more Christian, centered around Jesus Christ, and which is great, man. Like I
That's
said,
not AA. That's
it, it
that's not AA. In
what
AA, we speak of the higher power. Your
right.
higher power can be who you want it to be.
You're
Right.
right. So
I'm a
please, if I
Christian.
speak out of it.
I'm a
Mhm,
Christian,
mhm.
and that's my higher power.
Right.
So in AA, you're free to pick who your higher
You're
power.
absolutely right. Now that I'm thinking, it's been a while. I
Yeah.
haven't been in AA in a long time.
Yeah.
But
Bill
I remember
Wilson,
it was always
Dr.
that
Bob,
power, that higher power.
they
Sorry.
designed it that way. Bill W. and Dr. Bob designed it that way because although it started off as a Christian movement,
Mm,
they wanted to be able to include everyone who wanted to recover,
right,
right?
right, right.
And they felt like they would shun people who needed to recover, who were dying from alcoholism. So
Mm,
that's kind of why they did it, and they broadened it, and
mm,
so
mhm. That's beautiful. But my real question to you is that what do you think about plant medicines, and what role do you think that it plays in some of these very, very hard cases? I mean, you spoke about, the medical assistants and stuff. I know they write your prescriptions and all that, and that's cool. Like I said, if it helps people with that,
yeah.
but now what about plant medicine? There's many of them that are out there and are
So
helping
I
people.
don't I don't really know a lot about plant medicines for the treatment or the assistance in recovery of addiction. What I will say is that when I first started going to AA back in 2004, so 21 years ago, um, there was definitely more of a thinking of It's all or nothing. It's sobriety, abstinence from everything or nothing type mentality, right? And that included psychotropic medications like antidepressants and stuff. If you were back then, if I were to tell somebody that I'm on an antidepressant, oh well, then you're not really sober. Not everybody would say that, but you would get some of that feedback, you know.
Mm, mm,
And as a man who's worked in medicine, I would think to myself, that's very short-sighted. Like,
mm,
you know, it's
mm,
not an it's not a mind mood altering substance. It's something to balance you chemically, right?
mm,
What I see now in AA
mm,
is that there is more of an open mindedness to a variety of things, to a
mm,
variety of things, you know.
mm.
And I think that's a good thing because, as we mentioned before, there are multiple pathways to recovery.
Right.
What works may not work for me, or I might not want what you're doing, you know, and that's
Right.
okay, you know. So
Mhm,
what I would
mhm,
say is, as a person who comes from that background, but also 5 years ago started to work in this industry,
mhm,
I have more of an open mind to these
mhm,
things. Yeah,
mhm.
I have more of
Yeah,
an open mind.
I know that these
Me,
things.
I don't want
Mhm.
any substances.
Right, right,
That's just me.
right,
I get high off of life and God.
right, 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 right,
Well,
right.
you know what? Let me back that up. I'm not saying people are getting high, but
Mhm, mhm,
my sobriety is enhanced by spirituality, by God, by my
mhm,
friends, the
mhm,
things that I do, right? If there's something out there that a person can take
mhm,
and not abuse it, right?
mhm.
And it helps them to stay
Right.
away from their
Yeah,
drug of choice and
and not be abused by it.
right, and keeps them alive,
Mm,
who am I to
right,
say? You know what I mean? Like more power to you.
right,
Yeah. I'm gonna
right.
have to look into this whole LSD thing with Bill W because I never knew anything about it.
Yeah, it's on the internet. It's incredible, and it
Yeah.
was a story that I had learned too. Because I was looking into many different things, like I told you, Joe. I
Hmm.
mean, I was willing to do just about anything. Like I was trying here, man. I went to silent retreats, ashram. I went to the meetings, and I got therapy. I mean, I was trying, but nothing seemed to stick. So I did find this thing on the internet called ayahuasca, and nowadays things are becoming very popular with plant medicine and psychotropic substances. And one of the proper terms is entheogens, because theo means God. So anything that you take as a substance that gets you closer to God is considered an entheogen. So I found this one called ayahuasca, and I researched it for a year. And finally ended up going to Peru, to a small town called Pucallpa. As far as I last learned, there's no cars that go there. You go into Lima, you fly into Lima, and then you take a small plane there, and then they meet you at and then you drive through the town, and then you just keep driving into the jungle, like lots of trees and trees and trees. And but ayahuasca is one of the most powerful psychoactive substances on planet Earth. So you get to see lots of visions and stuff, and um, it helped me. It helped me. It helped me a great deal. It's not a religion or anything like that, but it opened me up. That's what it did. Because when I came back, like I was drinking, I was drinking even more, and then that puzzled me because I thought it was supposed to help me, but then I learned that what happens is it opens that up. It bubbles all of these things up in that are inside of your mind, inside of your soul, and it takes time to integrate some of those things that you received, and all of those things that are coming up. So that's what I did. I just started working with it, and it helped me. It wasn't a magic bullet. I thought it was going to be the silver bullet that killed the werewolf, but many of us thought but it's not like that. Why, Joe? Because we're like onions, man. We're like, there's many layers to us. We didn't just wake up like this, so we're not going to like just get fixed like that
Hmm.
either. So it
Right.
took time. So I had to create a practice and go and levitate toward things that would help me, breath work, yoga, then the ice plunge that we do that helped me a great deal also. You sticking with people like yourself, like, hey man, let's share ideas. What works for you? What's helping? What are you eating these days? Like my food started changing, all the people that I was around started changing. Like, you know, it was pretty nuts, but you know there's other ones too. There's another one called ibogaine that comes from Africa. It's another plant too, and ibogaine um, is the journey is like 72 hours. You're gonna have these visuals and all of that. So
Mm.
for like 3 days, it's a tough one. But they say uh, research has shown, especially in John Hopkins University, that people who take ibogaine just one time and they're off opioids and heroin and all of that, bro.
Right.
So it's super powerful. It is, and I feel that they need to introduce this back again, with some sort of regulations, right? Not like hand it out like candy. That's not proper,
Mhm.
but I feel that it would help lots of things like the homelessness, pandemic that we have, with people that just out of sorts and losing their lives and their families and all of these things. So that's part of my story. you know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's what helped me.
Very
And
interesting.
of course. And I was very fortunate, like I've told you before, and with gratitude. I wake up with a heart filled with gratitude. And
Yeah.
we do this. I do the podcast, and we have the YouTube channel and the website, and we do these big festivals, and like it just goes on and on. I just want to
Well, I
help
think
as many
you're doing
people as I
a lot of
can.
good, Omar. You're doing a lot of good. Great.
You too, brother. You too. I see you putting in the work. We have your website. We're coming up close to the hour. Perhaps we should just leave it at that, and you can let people know where they could find you if they want to, chat with you and look you up.
Sure. Sure. Um, so as I said in the beginning, I'm an interventionist. I'm a recovery coach. I work with individuals. I work with families, sometimes individuals and their families. And you can find me on my website, joeortizinterventionist.com, Facebook, Joe Ortiz Interventionist, Instagram, same thing, Joe Ortiz Interventionist. And my number is 732-599-7817, 732-599-7817. That's
Mm,
it.
that-
Yeah, I
That's
really
beautiful.
appreciate you bringing me on.
Of course, man. Thank you. Your message is super powerful, and people need to hear these things. There's
Agree.
so much distractions and
Mm,
garbage that's out there, bro. Like,
yes, I
I mean,
know.
if we're gonna listen and watch all these things and scroll and all that, why not something positive then?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
I love what you said before about when you go and disconnect with the guys and you disconnect from the matrix. That's
Yeah.
such a good way to put it, man, because life is so noisy, right? It's so much going
Mhm,
on, and you're
mhm,
that constant distraction,
mhm,
like really
mhm.
takes some effort for me sometimes doing my meditation in the morning, try and quiet everything down.
Yeah, we have a whole program, brother. We let guys know like some things. First of all, is that higher power that you speak about. You have to realize that there's something outside of you that is higher, that's there to help you and is working with you.
Hmm.
That's the first pillar
Yes.
of what we preach. Then the
Awesome.
next one is like you should be a self-aware person. You should know who are you. Do you know who you are? Like that.
Yeah.
So we work
Awesome.
along those lines. And then, when I speak about the matrix, like especially the phone, this is heroin. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's work.
It's so bad, man. It's so bad.
It's so bad. We were
Makes
on a
me fear.
men's retreat.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
really weird.
I know, I know. In the bathroom. You ever see the guys in the bathroom? Like you're in the toilet, bro.
Yeah.
You're talking on the while you're
Yeah.
sitting
I
on the
know a couple of people like that. Yeah.
come on. No, that's too way out, bro. Nah,
Yeah.
just wait. Yeah, wait till I'm finished. We're talking. No matter how important, unless it's life threatening,
Yeah.
but that's one of the big ones for us, Joe. Like in
Oh,
the
I
men's
know.
retreats, like to get a guy off his phone. Like there's
Mhm.
some downtime, and then he's over there, like, and
Yeah.
then I've had someone. I'm like, guys, please, guys. After a while, I'm like, you know what? I'm not your father, and I'm not the police. So if that's what you came here and you're paying for this, bro, go ahead, man. We're over here doing this thing.